What's up, y'all? I'm in Barcelona and they're doing construction on my building, so if you hear the t of tiny hammers, that's why. Okay, so me and my best friend recently watched the Jerrod Carmichael reality show, and I am so deeply unsettled by everything I've seen. So the first episode, when I heard his interview with Trevor Noah on Trevor Noah's podcast, I was very much on Jerrod's side. The way he talked about putting pressure on his parents, how queer people have to take up space to be heard, I was like, yes, yes, yes. I'm not like super familiar with his comedy, but I have seen his like rise to stardom. And I had seen like a month or so ago when all the stuff about him and Tyler, the Creator, came out. So I go to watch the show, and this moment where he tells Tyler, the Creator, he had feelings for him, I'm glad that they had the talk. It was weird to pressure, kind of manipulate the situation to do it on camera, but I guess I could kind of like get it. I was like, okay, he like wants to have this conversation. I feel like Tyler, the Creator's reaction was very, very strange and cruel for like someone he considers to be a brother or a best friend. So in the first episode, Jerrod still had me. I felt bad for him. I was like, wow, this is a sad situation. You have this unrequited love with Tyler, the Creator. He doesn't feel the same way. But then as the show goes on, Jerrod just seems like not a nice person. So we're introduced to his boyfriend, Michael, who's getting his MFA in writing. And at first, it's like very sweet. He's like, I never knew what love was before. This is so beautiful. Proceeds to be shown cheating on Michael again and again and again with a sling of meaningless grinder hookups. What I find, like, obviously cheating is wrong and like just sad for their relationship, but the way that he lies about it, he like lies repeatedly. He lies to the therapist, he lies to Michael, and this whole like experiment of like voyeurism where like the audience knows and the camera crew knows and Jerrod knows that he is lying, that he's cheating on his partner. And still he subjects his partner to that public humiliation. I mean, if I was Michael, I'd be like, cheating on me on TV was kind of maybe my red flag. Okay, so then he introduces his childhood best friend character. They both grew up not so wealthy, had big dreams. Jerrod manages to achieve those dreams. He's a very successful comic. He has a lot of money. He hosted the Emmys. He's kind of known for being a provocateur. And his childhood best friend has this dream of becoming an actress. So at first, he's very supportive. I think he comes to stay with him. He supports her acting lessons. But at a certain point, he wants her out of his space. Now, I think having boundaries between friends is totally an important thing to do. But what I thought was very strange is that he gifted her an apartment, which on the surface, very nice thing, but didn't tell her that there's only 30 days until the lease expires. For someone who doesn't have money, like, where is she supposed to go? How is she going to even get home? And also, like, to not tell her and leave her in that, it would be a lot to, like, be like, you have to move out in 30 days anyway. But to think that you finally have, like, security in the city you want to be in while you're pursuing your craft, I don't know. It was just weird. And then he's, like, dodging her calls and ignoring her. Very, very rude. I do think the most interesting aspect of the show is that he chooses to work through some of his trauma in front of a studio audience, which I guess as a comedian or an artist makes sense because that's what so many artists do in their various mediums. I do think that there is a lack of boundaries. Sometimes he's exposing other people's privacy and secrets in ways that do not feel as if they would want that. There's definitely some like comedic, endearing moments of the show. Bo Burnham, who is on the show as an anonymous person, but was later revealed to be Bo Burnham, the guy on the right. They have a really interesting, funny exchange. But I think what I disliked most about the show, more than the cheating, more than the lying, more than being a bad friend, ignoring phone calls, was the way that he manipulated his father into shaming him for his past. Like, I think that what his dad did is obviously wrong, and I think the way his parents have treated him is wrong. But at a certain point, you're an adult, you're a 37-year-old man, and manipulating your father on live TV to publicly put them on blast and shame them, especially when they're like old and frail. Like, Jerrod never comes from a place of empathy for the people that hurt him, and I'm not saying that he has to like immediately forgive his dad. All of the things that happened to him, yes, those are wrong, but part of your job as an adult is to not further traumatize others for the traumas that have been done to you. And he only ever thinks of his experience of like, oh, this person did this to me. He doesn't think of all of the ways that his dad's life might have led to that circumstance. He never has any empathy about it. And Jerrod would never want his indiscretions to be humiliated and shamed publicly. Like, he cheats on his boyfriend throughout the show. What if his boyfriend manipulated him into a conversation where it's like, you're a cheater, you're a liar, you did this? He would hate that. So why would he do that to another human being? I feel like it's important to have the conversations that he's trying to have with his dad, but he literally gaslights him, he manipulates him. He's very condescending. He doesn't allow the dad even says, he's like, it never seems to matter to you like how I felt. And naturally, Jerrod has childhood trauma, which is very valid. But just because bad things have happened to you, it doesn't give you an excuse to be an asshole. I have so much more I want to say about this, and I wish I could say it more eloquently, but manipulating someone who has wronged you when you were a child, especially someone who has like apologized and is trying to show up for you and trying to understand you, to constantly like transgress boundaries between that person and then manipulate them to shame them publicly on live TV, especially when he's revealed that like his dad has a lot of shame for the past mistakes that he's made, I think is wrong. I think it's a wrong way to handle this. This isn't the way to handle like private family matters. And it seems like he is doing this deliberately to be cruel. Like, he wants to hurt his father publicly. He wants to say, you hurt me, now I'm going to hurt you in front of millions of people. And I feel like that is wrong. I feel like that's wrong. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Just because someone has done something to you doesn't mean you have to have that person in your life. Doesn't mean you even have to have a great relationship with that person. But it doesn't give you license to then be cruel and perform humiliation upon that person. Especially, like, not only does Jerrod control this man's life financially, but Jerrod is young and able-bodied, and his dad is, like, old and frail and can barely walk, and he walks with, like, a little limp. I don't know, the whole thing, this just, like, to me, Jerrod was really giving his childhood trauma has turned him into a narcissist, into a sociopath, someone who is comfortable being a bad friend. Not to mention, okay, so his best friend, his best friend, supposedly, he is the best man at his wedding. He arrives not only late, wearing the thing that something different his best man didn't want. He's acting super classist, being like, I'm not going to go to Men's Warehouse. I'm only going to go to Tom Ford. And instead of like, I saw this TikTok where someone's like, oh, if you got it like that, then treat all of the best men to have Tom Ford suits. Don't like constantly try to put people down and make people bad for not having money. But then not only that, but he literally misses the entire wedding, doesn't give the speech, isn't there for his friend because he goes to have a hot dog. Like, this man is just not a good friend. He's not a good boyfriend. And he's really mean to his parents. Now, I haven't gotten to the part of the series with his mom yet, and from what I understand, she is like very manipulative, gaslighty, and uses religion as a way to like be cruel to him. And it seems like everything that's happened to him, there's a lot of childhood trauma, which is so valid, so valid, so valid. But I just don't believe that just because you have endured trauma, that it gives you a right to traumatize others.